Hi everyone and welcome back to Macaroon. The Plague Doctor was one of your most requested plushie designs and definitely a very fitting DIY for the year 2020. This was actually a bit more time consuming to make than I expected, so it ended up filling an entire video. This video is also a collaboration with Jackie from NerdECrafter. NerdECrafter is one of the very first DIY YouTubers that I ever worked with, so I'm delighted that we can bring you guys another video, and this time on the theme of Among Us. Be sure to check out her DIY where she tries to make a gummy lamp using squishy gel, and the whole process turns into an emotional roller coaster. I've linked it down below, and of course we'd love it if you subscribe to us both. And now without further ado, let's get started on our plushie. I was saving up the color black for this crewmate because I know so many of you guys have it as a favorite combination. However, if you look at the official artwork, the black crewmate is actually dark grey and the plague mask itself is black. So I decided to go with this color scheme and use a grey sock for the body, a black sock for the mask, and orange for eyes. A good tip before you start sewing is to collect all the socks you want to use and hold them against each other. I often find that some colors just don't match up very well, so you want to make sure that you can see all the shades at once. Start by making the basic crewmate body, and I'm using some white paint so it shows up against the dark fabric. The full details are in this video here, which I'm sure most of you have seen. The only difference is that we don't need to make a faceplate, so you can stop at this step after the body has been stuffed. Now use the remaining sock fabric for the backpack, and I just want to quickly show a mistake that happened here. I somehow ended up with a hole on the side, and I think it's because I missed out one of the back stitches, which created a gap that stretched out after stuffing. In case this ever happens, don't stress and just complete the rest of your piece as normal. After making the backpack, I'm simply going to thread the needle back to where the hole is and close it up. This is one of the advantages of using fluffy socks, because the fabric hides the thread well so you can easily fix mistakes. If you're using normal smooth socks and end up with a hole, then you might have to remake the whole piece. So now it's time to make the bird beak for the plague mask. I'm going to use the heel part of the sock because it contains more fabric, and this makes the beak look more three-dimensional later on. Just like before, sketch out the shape, backstitch along the lines and cut it out. Then cut a tiny hole at the base and use this to turn it the right way round. Now stuff the beak and attach it onto the face using a ladder stitch. This replaces the helmet faceplate on a normal crewmate plush, but it's not as wide, so take care not to make the hole too big, otherwise it's going to be hard to cover everything up. Next we're going to make the top hat, and this is actually a bit trickier than it looks. The reason is because sock plushies are basically two-dimensional shapes that have been pushed out with stuffing to make them appear three-dimensional. This is also why you only have to draw a single line for most shapes, instead of tracing and cutting out patterns like traditional plushie tutorials. However, this method doesn't work for the top hat, because as you can see here, it has to look three-dimensional from all sides. So to create this effect, I'm going to use some cheap cardboard from a packaging box. This should be pretty easy to find right now, since so many people are ordering stuff online during lockdown. Start by sketching out a circle that's going to be the brim of the hat. Compare this with the plush to make sure the size looks about right. Then draw and cut out a smaller circle for the top part of the hat. These are going to create a cylindrical shape that looks exactly the same from all sides. Next, take the big circle and place it onto the toe part of the sock. Hold it in place and backstitch around the outside. Of course, you can also trace the shape onto the fabric using paint if you want to, but I actually found it easier and quicker to do it like this. Then cut it out and make a small hole in the center to flip it around. Insert the cardboard inside so you have a nice round shape. Now take the leftover piece of black sock and open it up on one side so you have a bigger piece of fabric. Then cut out the biggest circle you can so it looks something like this. When you're making this hat, the top part is actually a lot bigger than the bottom part to begin with. Take the larger circle and sew a running stitch all along the edge. Then place the smaller piece of card in the center and add a handful of stuffing on top. Pull the thread shut and you can see how this naturally creates a cylindrical shape. Secure the opening using a few stitches, but you don't have to close it up completely. Attach it onto the hat brim, and you might have to ladder stitch several times in a circle before getting the best shape. Here's a diagram I made ages ago for an alpaca plushie, but it kind of gives you an idea of how this works. I decided to remove the larger piece of card afterwards just to make the hat softer, but you can also keep it inside if you prefer having a more defined shape. Then just sew it onto the head and we're almost done. To make the glasses, I'm using an orange sock, and don't forget to turn it inside out first. I mentioned in a previous video that there are often small differences on both sides of the fabric, and here's an example where it's fairly easy to see. The wrong side of the sock has these lines running across the surface, and it's noticeably less fluffy than the other side. So when making plushies, you obviously want the nicer side of the fabric facing outwards. Draw 2 circles roughly the size of large coins and then cut them out. Make a small hole in each one and turn them around. We don't have to stuff these, so simply sew them onto both sides of the plague mask beak. These should be positioned fairly low down, so almost 80% of the circle is overlapping the beak. Since we never get to see crewmate eyes, these glasses should basically sit along the same line as the faceplate helmet. Last of all, I'm going to add the metal stud details using black beads. I like the contrast between the shiny plastic and the fluffy fabric, but you can easily do this step using paint, felt, buttons, or whatever else you can find. I recommend making a solid knot after every bead to prevent them all from sliding off, just in case one of them comes loose. Once you reach the tip of the beak, continue down the other side, making sure the line of beads looks more or less symmetrical. And now our Plague Doctor Crewmate is done. This one does take a bit longer to make than the others, but it has a nice creepy feel to it. I think it would make a perfect gift to someone who plays this character, and of course it'll look great in all the other colors as well. I hope you enjoyed this DIY, and please follow me on TikTok as well. I post a lot of exclusive content there, such as weird product tests, funny toys, and just random cute things. Everything which is too short for a full YouTube video basically ends up on my TikTok. And don't forget to check out NerdECrafter's Gummy Lamp Collab, which I've linked below. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!